Hey everyone, it's Jack from WhatCulture.com, back once again with another edition of WTF Moments, filling in for Ross, who's still out there in France. We don't know if he's coming back. We literally don't know if he's coming back. He could be sunburned on a beach somewhere, just off his face. I'm genuinely quite worried. I'm going to give him a ring. Anyway, these are all the WTF moments from Money in the Bank 2016. The best Money in the Bank pay-per-view ever. First up, we've got the pre-show match between R-Truth and Goldust and Tyler Breeze and Fandango. And the heels were sunburned. Banter. Next up, I'd like to say something about the match between the Dudley Boys and the Lucha Dragons, but nothing of note happened, so we'll go straight on to the main show and the Fatal 4-Way tag match between the New Day, Enzo and Cass, the Club, and the Vaudevillains. Now, at the start of the match, the New Day cut a promo in which they said they were the elite tag team in wrestling. And that is, of course, a reference to the Elite, aka Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ross wouldn't have told you that. He doesn't really want to know anything else about the wrestling world apart from WWE, and he's proud of it. Disgusting. The ending of the tag match was one of those finishes that I think was better in the wrestlers' heads when they when they thought of it. Big E scooped up Carl Anderson on his shoulders, looked at Luke Gallows across the ring, and then they waited. And they kept waiting, and they stared at each other a bit more. And finally, Big Cass got in the ring, and he and Gallows did the spot they were meant to do a few seconds earlier. It was all a little bit hazy and not the best finish of the night by a long stretch. It was still an okay match, but it certainly qualifies as a WTF moment. Next up, oh my god, the Tomspiracy is back. Now, for those of you who don't go on Reddit too much, the Tomspiracy is the name given to any backstage segment involving Tom Phillips, a rather tall backstage interviewer who is then forced to stand like this, with his legs apart, to get shorter whenever he interviews a wrestler they want to portray as tall and menacing. So, Tom was interviewing Jericho, Kevin Owens, and Alberto Del Rio, and the camera didn't zoom down, but his legs must have been splayed wide apart. Sam thought he might be doing the Rob Van Dam between two crates. That's how pronounced the height difference was between Tom and the wrestlers themselves. Shame on you, Vince McMahon. Why can't one of your backstage interviewers be a tall man? Why have they got to be short? You know, different times. Different times, Vince! Next up, we had the singles match between Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, and it kind of went just how every other match between the two has gone. Corbin got the clean win, which he really, really needed. He also saved Dolph Ziggler's life at one point. They did a spot on the outside where Ziggler ran round, jumped on the ring steps, slipped, nearly caned it into the floor. Luckily, Corbin caught him, and then, by way of reward, hit him with a nasty deep six on the outside. Ziggler might have landed on his shoulder. He seemed all right. It was a bit of an ugly sequence all in all, but Corbin really saved the day with that catch and gnarly move as well. Gnarly. Why did I say gnarly? Cut that bit, yeah? Next up, we had a heel turn. Natalya and Becky Lynch lost their match against Charlotte and Dana Brooke, and then Natalya was so upset that she turned on Becky and started beating her down after the match. And this is the third or fourth time Becky's been turned on in the past year or so, and you've really got to feel sorry for her. Now, this is a WTF moment because it doesn't really leave you with many faces on the main roster in terms of the women's division. You've got Paige and Alicia Fox. I think she still counts as one. Are the Bella Twins still around? I know Nikki's not, but is Brie coming back? There are no faces. Becky's the only face. She's alone. Sasha Banks needs to hurry up and come back. And then, as Natalya walked to the back, she was very clearly crying. Why was she crying? She just turned bad. Is she more of a tweener now? I'm not really sure what's going on. Hopefully this one gets cleaned up on Raw. But for now, because I'm really struggling to think of enough reasons to make this list, it's a WTF moment. Don't say you don't get quality when Ross isn't around. Don't say that at all. Don't say that. Next, we had Apollo Crews v Sheamus, which looks like it's just going to be another Corbin v Ziggler in terms of repetitive matches, 50-50 booking. Hopefully the newer guy eventually wins, but it's always going to be filler in a pay-per-view card and not something you really look forward to. Thankfully, Apollo Crews did pick up the victory. That was the right result, but unfortunately, he picked it up with a roll-up, which doesn't really make him seem the sort of menacing, ultra-athletic babyface beast that we all really want him to be. Also, it implies there's going to be another match between the two, and that could lead to another one, and then another one, and then another one. And I really just want to see Crews pick up the win and get the hell out of this feud as quickly as possible. Now we get to Cena versus your boy AJ Styles, and Oh, it was probably the match of the night. Either this or the Money in the Bank ladder match was match of the night, in my opinion. Cena, for all his Super Cena, I'm never hurt, sold really well in the match, and my personal favourite part was when his leg had been ruined by AJ's calf crusher. He went to do the 5-knuckle shuffle, but instead of hitting the ropes, he just went straight down into the punch instead. That was genius, and it reminds you that for all of Cena's unpopularity, he can still be a hell of a worker when he's matched with the right opponent. Next up, we've got the Styles Clash, and Cena's head literally brushed the floor. He came this close to a broken neck. If that's not a WTF moment, I don't know what is. Just once again want to remind everyone that Ross once included Summer Rae dropping a grape. Dropping a grape? Are you absolutely joking? That doesn't count as a WTF. Now we get to the finish of the match, and the referee gets knocked out. Cena looks to have won the match, and then the club run down, hit John with the magic killer, drag AJ on top, 1, 2, 3. AJ wins, not in the way any of us wanted him to. I think we'd all have preferred to see AJ win clean and be put over as a really good wrestler, even though he's a heel, and WWE are often sort of reserved about making heels seem like better wrestlers than faces. I think in AJ's case, there's a definite exception to be made, but they didn't do that. They went with the run-in. It's definitely what the WTF moment. Saved it at the last. Sorry. Next, Kevin Owens, the Troll. One of my favourite spots in the Money in the Bank ladder match was when Owens propped up a ladder against Zayn on the outside, took a few steps back, steadied himself, ran for it, and then ran round it and just super kicked him in the face. Genius, hilarious. You can argue all you want about whether Owens is a good heel because he's quite obnoxious and hateable, or a bad heel because all the smarks love him. But you can't deny that he's very entertaining, so that's definitely a WTF moment in a positive way. In my notes, I've entitled this point The Sad Demise of Kevin's Spine, because Sami Zayn hit him with arguably the sickest spot of the night. It was a Michinoku driver onto a ladder turned on its side. There's no way to fake that. That's gotta hurt, and I just hope Kevin's spine's all right. Oh, it just looked nasty. Or at least that should have been the nastiest spot of the match, but in fact, that came when Alberto Del Rio and Cesaro fell off a ladder. Cesaro landed perfectly. He sort of crotched himself on the top rope, but he was okay. Alberto hit the top rope legs first and then took a nasty tumble down to the canvas. And there are reports that he was shaken up by that. Hopefully he's not injured too badly and he'll be good to go before too long. Now we get to the toilet break match, as it's called, and it featured Rusev versus poor Titus O'Neil. Celebrity Dad of the Year, as we all know. And on Father's Day, Vince McMahon made him tap out clean to Rusev in front of his children. Could this have anything to do with the fact that Titus was suspended for playfully grabbing Vince back in the day? Yes, absolutely. Of course it does. Never change, Vince. Crazy. Next up, Titus O'Neil's eldest son hits Rusev. Was that planned? It didn't look planned. He sort of gave him a slap to the pec as he was walking away, and then, don't laugh at the word pec. He gave him a slap to the pec as he was walking away. Rusev kind of ignored it, looked a bit confused, and then shouted Happy Father's Day. I don't think that was planned, you know. I think it was a bit of improv on the part of the kid. Did Titus's kids even know he was going to lose? I wouldn't put it past Vince McMahon to lie to children, would you? No, didn't think so. Next up, maybe the biggest WTF moment of the entire year. Roman Reigns loses to Seth Rollins, who becomes the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And how good were those two pedigrees? First, the spear into the pedigree. How did none of us see that coming? It's their finishes, but no one seemed to think of it. We all lost our minds when it happened. And then that second pedigree was my favourite one of all, because it seemed like Rollins was just saying, I've had enough of this, I'm putting you away and I'm going to win. It was a monumental moment, and it should have been the biggest moment of the show until Dean Ambrose's music hit and the Cleveland native cemented maybe the best night in his city's sporting history, if we're counting wrestling as a real sport. Let's do. Come on, let's give ourselves some legitimacy. Dean Ambrose ran down to the ring, blindsided Rollins, who was waiting for him coming from the entrance ramp. Dean came in from behind, blasted him with the briefcase, spun him round, hit him with dirty deeds, 1, 2, 3. Dean Ambrose is the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and all three members of The Shield held the belt in the same night. Within a matter of minutes, all three members of The Shield have held that belt now. What a finish. It's arguably the best finish since WrestleMania 31 over a year ago, and it really sets things up to be very interesting going ahead. Maybe we'll get that Shield triple threat at SummerSlam after all. So that's all we've got time for this week. Oh wait, I'll do it like Ross. So that's all we've got time for this week on WTF Moments. I'm King Ross, and I know I'm Jack from WhatCulture.com. Ross will be back soon, I think. That's all we've got time for. I'll see you soon.